Hello guys, I am Coach Rel of Chess Express. Today we will try to improve our chess games by learning chess tactics and then applying it in our games to master them. A lot of chess games are won by delivering a chess tactic that enables us to gain material, improve our position, or even leading us to checkmate the opponent. The fastest way to master chess tactics is to remember their names. For example, fork, decoy, deflection, and others. Here my two assistants will explain each tactic for you to remember. So here are my assistants.
Hello there, I'm Ella, daughter of Coach Rel.
And I'm Bobby, son of Coach Rel.
Okay, so let us proceed. Please click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Thank you.
The first tactic we're gonna talk about is called fork. A fork is a tactic in which a pawn or piece attacks two or more pawns or squares or pieces. A fork is a type of double attack. A fork can be delivered by a pawn or any piece, most commonly by the knight. So in this position, you can see that black's light squared bishop and knight can be attacked simultaneously by a pawn. That happens after d4. White plays a forcing move. Now black is forced to move the bishop. For example, after e takes d4, c takes d4, bishop b6, and then d5. Now we see a pawn fork in action. It is called the pawn fork because the pawn is the forking unit. Now black loses a piece, for example, bishop d7, d takes c6. The next chess tactic we are going to study is called discovery. A discovery is a tactic in which a piece is moved to uncover an attack to the opponent's piece. The covered piece is said to be indirectly attacking the opponent's piece before being uncovered. Let us see an example. So this position is actually reached in a game between Carlos Torre Repeto and Emmanuel Lasker in Moscow 1925. Here Lasker thought that he would win the bishop. Yes, he won White's bishop, but with a paid debt, as White has a devastating combination here. Can you spot the combination? You can pause the video and try to find the solution. Okay, so the solution is bishop f6, a forcing move. White delivered a double attack and the discovery while sacrificing his queen. This is also a double attack as White is attacking two targets at once. Queen takes h5, rook takes g7. The main point of the combination. White wins material after king h8, rook takes f7, king g8, rook g7, check, king h8, rook takes b7, king g8, rook g7. As you see, White used a sequence of the same discoveries to win material. Such sequences are called windmills or seesaws. King h8, rook g5, the last discovered check in the sequence. King h7, rook takes h5, king g6, rook h3, king takes f6, rook takes h6, check, and Carlos Torre won after a few moves. Before we go on to the next chess tactic, let us know more keywords about discoveries or discovered attacks. A discovered check is a discovery to the king, and a double check is a discovered check in which both the attacking piece and the uncovering piece checks the king at the same time, forcing the king to move. Okay, that's all, and let us see the next chess tactic.
The next tactic we are going to study is called Skewer. A skewer is a tactic in which a piece attacks the opponent's piece in a direction where a more valuable opponent's piece sits behind the attacked piece. The king is the most valuable piece on the board for more information. Now let's start. As you can see, white already has a pawn on the 7th rank. However, can't promote for the moment, as the white rook is directly in front of it. The black king is also getting nearer. However, black's king position is unfortunate, although not obviously. So, can you spot the move which exploits the unfortunate position of the king? You can pause the video and try to find the solution. Okay, the solution starts with rook a8. Rook takes h7. This move is forced, otherwise white will promote the pawn, but the black's pieces are perfectly lined up for the skewer. Rook a7 check. This is called the absolute skewer. The absolute skewer is a type of skewer in which the king is the piece directly attacked. Another kind is called relative skewer, in which a relatively more valuable piece is being attacked in front of a relatively weaker piece. King e6. Rook takes h7, and the basic winning endgame is reached. A similar tactic is called pin, which we will study next. The next tactic is called pin. It is a tactic or strategic motive in which a piece attacks the opponent's piece while a relatively more valuable piece is behind. Let us see this example. So here, white is down a queen for a rook and a pawn. However, black's king and queen are placed in unfortunate positions, and white exploits it with rook e3, and white wins. This pin is called partial pin. A partial pin is where the king is behind the pinned piece, but the pinned piece can still move. A similar type is called the absolute pin, in which the king is behind the pinned piece, but the pinned piece cannot move. Another type is called the relative pin, in which a relatively more valuable piece is behind the pinned piece. The last kind of pin is called situational pin, in which a piece effectively pins an opponent's piece to a key square. Because if the pinned piece moves, the attacker will move to the key square, which leads to devastating consequences against the opponent. But the defender isn't the only one that can get into trouble while being pinned. The attacker can also be in trouble because of a tactic called unpinning, which is a type of discovered attack. One example is the legal trap. You can search legal trap in Google. That's all, and we may now move on to the next tactic. The next tactic we are going to study is called removing the guard, or more formally undermining. This tactic is delivered by capturing a piece or pawn that defends a key or critical square. Now let's see this example. Here, as you can see, white can already deliver a lawless mate on g7, not for the knight on e6. But white can remove the knight on e6. Before I show you the move, you can pause the video and try to find the solution. Okay, and the move is rook takes e6. White captures and in the process removes the sole defender of the critical square g7, the knight on e6. So black is forced to defend the g7 square and play queen f8, otherwise black gets checkmated. For example, if black chooses to play bishop takes e6, then black loses quickly to queen g7 checkmate. So going back, rook takes e8, and white wins a piece, and soon the game. The next tactic we are going to study is called deflection, a similar tactic.
Deflection is a tactic in which you remove a defender of a key piece, pawn, or square by forcing it to move away from its post. This is commonly achieved by sacrificing a piece. This game fragment is an example. Edwin Ziegler Adams played the white pieces, and Carlos Torre Repeto played the black pieces. In New Orleans, 1920, White played an amazing combination. Can you spot the combination? You can pause the video and try to find the solution. Okay, the solution is Queen G4. White deflects the queen away from defending the E8 rook and the back rank. So black played Queen B5. Otherwise, for example, Queen takes G4, black can get checkmated easily after Rook takes E8 check, Rook takes E8, Rook takes E8 checkmate. This is a back rank mate. So black played Queen B5. Edwin Ziegler Adams played another amazing queen sacrifice, Queen C4. This time, not only deflecting the queen from defending the back rank, but also deflecting the rook, so black can take two ways, but both loses because, for example, rook takes e4, he'll just get checkmated in the back rank. So black played queen d7. Still, white played queen c7, and Carlos Torre saw something and he played queen b5. He's aiming to trick white into playing queen takes b7, which is actually a very big blunder. White seems to be deflecting the queen away from the from defending the back rank. However, white has one problem. His back rank is also vulnerable. So black can turn the tables by playing queen takes e2, a deflection of his own, and white is losing. For example, rook takes e2, rook c1, knight e1, rook takes e1, rook takes e1, rook takes e1, a back rank mate. So precise calculation was made by Edwin Ziegler Adams and he found e4. This is the move which decided the game. White plays a Zwischenzug or an intermediate move, which is a tactical resource played in some combinations in order to counteract against the counter combination or maintain track of a combination. So here queen takes e2 doesn't work because after rook takes e2, black doesn't have rook c1 because the queen is in the way, and black can take either the rook or the queen, but he'll just get checkmated, so black can already resign here. And if black makes a lock, for example h6, rook takes e8, and white wins the queen, so black just played queen takes a4. So he thought that he's escaping, but after rook e4, another deflection, and queen b5, of course, otherwise he's gonna get checkmated on the e8 square or the c8 square. So then white played queen takes b7. Now there's no queen takes e2 because the rook is already on e4, and the black queen had no good place to go, and Black just resigned. So let's go on to the next chess tactic.
The next tactic we're going to talk about is called square clearance. Clearance is a tactic in which a piece is removed from blocking a square or a line by moving it away through a forcing move. Here, what I will show you is square clearance. The other type, called line clearance, is the subject of the next tactic. Now let's see this example of square clearance. This position is reached in the 39th game of the matches between Louis de la Bourdonnais and Alexander MacDonald in 1834. De la Bourdonnais played the white pieces, and MacDonald played the black pieces. Here, as you can see, white can mate black on g5 if not for the rook standing on that same square. You can pause the video and try to find the solution. So here, white moved his rook by playing rook h5 check, a forcing move. There are no other moves besides bishop takes h5. Now the g5 square is available for the queen, and so black got checkmated after queen g5 checkmate.
Now let's go to the next tactic called line clearance. This tactic is characterized by executing a forced move by a piece or a pawn, and that piece or pawn blocks an important line. Let's see an example. Here, black's queen can be pinned along the a1 h8 diagonal, and if the knight blocks the pin, a new pin forms, and white can exploit it with f4, which wins a piece. However, the d4 pawn blocks the a1 h8 diagonal, making it impossible for the moment to pin the queen to the king. And if white plays bishop b2, with the idea of playing d5 and then f4, winning a piece in the game, black simply plays d5, and this diagonal can no longer be opened. However, there is a tactic that is called line clearance. It is a move to clear the a1 h8 long diagonal to deliver another tactic called a pin. It is made by playing d5. Now black is obliged to move his bishop. Black loses at least a piece in all variations. For example, bishop takes d5 and bishop b2. White executes a partial pin along the long diagonal. Knight e5. Otherwise, black loses his or her queen. And now, white plays f4. This tactic is called working the pin. Working the pin. A pin cannot be called a tactic unless it leads to immediate consequences or it is a part of a combination. Working the pin is a term used to an operation used to exploit the pin, such as attacking the pinned piece. Now, white wins the knight on e5. For example, queen g7, f takes e5. Now, let's go on to the next tactic. The next tactic we're going to study is called decoy. Decoy is a tactic in which the attacker forces the defender to put his piece or pawn into a bad square. For example, in this position, you can see black skewered white's queen and rook. However, as you can see, if this piece instead of the bishop is the king, then white has a fork. So white plays queen takes g6, which forces the black king into a bad square. Otherwise, he'll not only lose a piece, but he's also gonna get checkmated. So he is forced to take the queen. And white actually wins a piece. But why is g6 a bad square? As I've said before, there's a fork on e5. If instead of the bishop, this piece is a king. So white plays knight e5 check. A knight fork. And after king h7, knight takes d7. Black can already resign because he's down a piece. Let's move on to the next chess tactic. The last tactic we are going to study is called interference. Interference is a tactic in which you make a square, piece, or pawn to be undefended by blocking by the piece that defends it. Now, in this position, probably you can see that white is attacking the queen, but black is defending it with the rook. So what should white do? White uses the unfortunate position of this king by making interference, knight d5. Interference is always a forcing move. Black should take this knight. If he takes with either of the two pawns, he loses the queen, so he has to take with the rook. But he loses the exchange after he takes d5. The exchange, also known as quality, is when you win a rook for a piece or a minor piece, such as a bishop or a knight. So that's all.
Okay, so I wish you good luck in your chess games. See you next time.